Hey, what's wrong? I'm not pretty anymore. What? You're so pretty.
There's something really interesting about our own belief in who we are and how we see ourselves. I think that a lot of people, especially they see Margot Robbie, who is probably one of the most beautiful people on the planet, and I think that you probably would think it's very disingenuous that she could ever feel not pretty. But I work with people that are actual supermodels. They are some of the most aesthetically pleasing people, and they still have a really hard time with their own self-esteem and how they look. It's hard to notice that they might have things that bother them just like we do, and it isn't actually how much you view yourself, but how you view yourself on the inside.
I'm not stereotypical Barbie pretty.
Note to the filmmakers, Margot Robbie is the wrong person to cast if you want to make this point.
It's funny because I actually was watching the movie, I said that, and then then she said that at the same time, which is true. So I think that that's it, but I think that that's the truth of it, is that even people that look perfect, that you think that their world is perfect, you really don't understand what might be going on in the inside. And interestingly, people that do things that are always in the public light, they're constantly picked on for their looks. And so in a lot of cases, people that are actresses or models or people that do theater are actually much more critical about their looks because everyone is constantly commenting about it. And all of the other people you work with and all of your other friends are also supermodels. And that can be a little bit difficult for your own feeling of self-worth.
You're beautiful. It's not just that. I'm not smart enough to be interesting.
And I think that that is one of the costs of social media, is that now the bar is so much higher. We look on social media and everyone's lives are so vastly entertaining. They're doing all of these cool, amazing things. And so because of that, when we reflect on our regular lives of just wearing our Snuggies and perhaps reading a book or not even getting out of bed, we're like, I'm not doing enough. And I think that that level of FOMO, that level of what we have to achieve is so much higher for us. And so for Barbie, who all of her friends are doing all of these different cool things because that's what they were made to do, it can be really hard when we are constantly putting ourselves up against this reflection that may not be real in the first place, because many of the stuff that people post are created, not genuine.
You're so smart. I can't do brain surgery. I've never flown a plane. I'm not the president. No one on the Supreme Court is me. I'm not good enough for anything.
I think that society puts a lot of pressure on us to have to find this thing that we do, that we're amazing at, that we're passionate at, that we make this difference, that we make this mark on the world. And so for many people, their anxiety is this existential of anxiety of, what am I going to do? What am I going to do that's going to matter, that's going to change things, and that I'm going to love and care about? And that kind of pressure is a lot, especially when you're young and looking at all of this multitude of choices of things that you could do. And it's funny because for people that are actually really good at things or talented or hardworking at things, this can actually be even harder and more difficult because you expect so much more of yourself. And so certain personality types, ones that are always looking forward, ones that are achievement-oriented, ones that have a fear of failure. This existential crisis can be so strong that it actually stops us in our tracks. It stops us from even trying. So this is different from imposter syndrome. Imposter syndrome means that you are doing a role, but you don't think that you are living up to this. This one is more of her not knowing even who she is. And so she's not saying that I'm not good enough to be Barbie. She's saying that she isn't Barbie. And that's a different thing. This is more of an identity crisis than just a role that she wants to play. And so it's more global in comparison to something very specific.
It is literally impossible to be a woman.
I don't think that it's impossible to be a woman. I think that we often have exceptionally high standards and things that make it really difficult to feel like we're fitting in. Her stating how beautiful she is, it's just my only issue for that is real beauty isn't just on the outside. And we're dealing with Margot Robbie, who is aesthetically so beautiful. And for some of us, we kind of win the genetic lottery. And for other of us, we haven't. But beauty fades. It isn't forever. And any of us can lose that aesthetics. True beauty is actually on the inside. It's what you carry with you. It's how you make other people feel. But I think that our society gives such a high standard to how we look, because that's what our own insecurities, our own pushing of us not being good enough is one of the things that makes us buy things. Like, right? Like, how many industries would be completely bankrupt if we truly cared about who we were in a genuine, authentic way, where the superficial things of this wrinkle or these hairs or how much I weigh, all of these things didn't matter. And so this consumerism kind of pushes this need for us to be these cookie cutter people. And I think that that's one of the pieces that people got really angry about Barbie, is because she lives up to a standard that no one else can truly live up to. Maybe a few people, but not most of us. Most of us all want something different. If we could change something, most of us would. Being perfect, even though many of us might choose it, really would be very boring if we all looked exactly the same. And I think that our differences and our character and our flaws are the things that we need to embrace. I know it's a really therapy thing, but it's true. And our diversity and the things that make us unique, if you really own it, that can be the thing that makes you really beautiful, inside and out.
You are so beautiful and so smart, and it kills me that you don't think you're good enough.
Yeah.
Always doing it wrong. Like, you have to be thin, but not too thin. And you can never say you want to be thin. You have to say you want to be healthy.
I think that the I want to be healthy instead of I want to be thin is a more adaptive way of speaking about body weight. I think that it decreases the chances of other people judging themselves. And I think that that standard of thinner is better is exceptionally unhealthy, especially with us carrying our estrogen in mostly our fat cells. And so because of that, if you lose too much weight, you can actually start to feel really depressed and really lethargic also. So it isn't healthy for us either.
You have to have money, but you can't ask for money because that's crass.
No, ask for money. Ask for money. If you want a raise, go out there and ask for it. Give your paperwork and ask for it. I'm sorry. We deserve to be paid for the work that we do. It shouldn't just be large corporations. I know I'm on a soapbox. It shouldn't just be large corporations that are going out there and making all of this money. We need to be able to stand up and to stand up for each other, that we need to be paid something that is a respectable living wage, and we deserve more. So don't feel bad about asking for a raise, asking for more, and know your worth.
You have to be a boss, but you can't be mean.
There is a huge stereotype that is often used against women in this case. When they come off, especially if they are too bossy, they end up being called bitchy. Can I say bit? I don't know if I can say that. Or they end up saying that they're hormonal or they're hysterical. These are the things that we often only imply upon women, whereas for men it's seen as being strong and being dominant and understanding what they want. The same thing with anger. It's something that we use to be able to protect us, and it's important. And so a lot of times we need to also change the entire culture about the way that we judge people and the way that we speak about when someone is really strong or really emotional about things.
You have to lead, but you can't squash other people's ideas.
That's true though. I don't think that you should lead and have to step on other people in order to actually get ahead. True leadership allows other people to shine and make people feel good. And that's for exceptional leaders. You want to do things for them because they're recognized, they make you feel good. And so that's something that I think is a really important leadership skill, no matter who you are.
You're supposed to love being a mother, but don't talk about your kids all the damn time.
Or show 100,000 photos. We don't want them. You know, Peter.
You're supposed to stay pretty for men, but not so pretty that you tempt them too much or that you threaten other women, because you're supposed to be a part of the sisterhood, but always stand out.
And that sisterhood, I think that for a lot of people, that feeling of being a part of something, that instead of us knocking other people down because we see them as competition, we should be building other people up.
And always be grateful. But never forget that the system is rigged, so find a way to acknowledge that, but also always be grateful.
Does saying this in itself build self-esteem? It isn't enough you have to be able to believe it. You have to know what is honest and true about your strengths. I think that a lot of times when we try to build self-esteem, we just give someone a compliment. That is not going to build self-esteem, especially if you are raising children or you're working with someone. It has to be concrete. You have to give them a character trait. You are really diligent or you're really responsible, and then give the reason why you are stating this. That sticks in our mind. There's proof to it. So it can't just be lip service. It can't just be a word. It has to be a statement. And when you say it, there should be this connection, this look, this pause, so that you allow someone to process it. For many of us, I think that it's really hard to hear a compliment. I think that we dismiss it. We hear all of those critical things, all of those labels that we place upon ourselves. Those stick. We remember them. They replay inside of our head, and that becomes our negative voice. For self-esteem to be truly built, one is, it can't be the outside superficial stuff. It's not the car that you drive. It's not the job that you have. It's not the degrees that you have. It's not the friends that you have. It's not the person that you're dating. It is, who are you as a person? Things that you always carry with you. And if you really know who you are and you can acknowledge that and be proud of the things that you do well and not too hard on yourself, what most people would say is realistic, that's how you build global internal self-esteem. And it's those times when we're having those existential crises or we're worried about what am I going to do in this world. That's when we pull back to, who am I? Can I overcome this? And that alters your feelings, your reactions in anxiety, in depression, in anger, in the jobs that you choose, in the people that you date, in how you carry yourself, in how resilient you become, because you know yourself. And so that is the thing that we want to build in ourselves and hopefully imbue in others.
It's too hard, it's too contradictory, and nobody gives you a medal or says thank you.
And it turns out, in fact, that not only are you doing everything wrong, but also everything is your fault.
And I think for a lot of people, that is their inner frustration, their rage, this pressure that society, that we have placed upon ourselves and judged other people from at the same time. I think that it's more than just something that society or the patriarchy or the culture or big business or corporations or the government does to us, because in the end, we do it to ourselves. We do it to those that are around us. We carry this need to be constantly overachieving, doing more. And because of that, we often end up with this feeling of a baseline of anxiety, because if every time you have to try to do something a little bit better, a little bit more, if it's never really good enough, then you're left with this feeling of anxiety, because how do you get better at something? By practicing it. And that feeling of not being good enough starts to erode your feelings of self-esteem. So instead of thinking of the things that you are not doing well enough, that are not good enough for you, you need to start to acknowledge, with the facts of why you're acknowledging it, the things that you are doing, and that, you know what, it's okay not to be okay, and it's okay not to be perfect, and failure is part of life and growth and important for us. And you don't have to be the prettiest or the funniest or the most talented to be worthwhile. It's okay just to be you.
So tired of watching myself and every single other woman tie herself into knots so that people will like us.
And I think that that is a very common anxiety, that social anxiety of judgment from others. I think that that often can feed that need that if other people like us, then we're good enough. That feeds our self-esteem. But that isn't real, because it isn't internal to us. It's, again, one of those superficial things that then you're only as good as the last set of people that like you, and you're constantly in this feeling of running a rat race, of trying to always be entertaining and funny, but not too funny, and make other people feel good, but also be able to do some shining yourself. It kind of reminds me of that line, is that the only way that you win is not to play the game, to be able to be okay inside of your own skin, even if you never reach that feeling of being exactly where you want to be, because we never really reach that. And I think that we would be kind of bored if we did.
And if all of that is also true for a doll, just representing a woman.
Oh, I felt bad. Again, probably I'm the only one, but I felt bad for Margot Robbie's character. Like, just a doll. Like, here she is. She's going through real, genuine feelings and emotions. And I don't know, I was like, oh, like, how could you diminish her just into the role that she is playing? That she's only representing these feelings and emotions when she's really going through it and feeling it. But you can let me know in the comments if you also felt the same thing. Kind of went, ow. Ouch! For most of this is gender neutral. This can happen and people feel this to anyone. But there are some cases where we will place this upon one group more than the other also. And I think that we need to recognize that so that we can stop doing that and we start treating people as people instead of the role that society wants us to play.
I did write a book. It's like I've been in a dream where I was somehow really invested in the Zack Snyder cut of Justice League.
And that can happen to us if we actually ask ourselves, who am I? What do I want to do? What do I enjoy? A lot of times we're so wrapped up in living other people's dreams and living other people's lives and getting our self-esteem from making other people happy that it takes this moment, this kind of crack in that cognitive dissonance, which I think I'm going to do a video all on its own, in order to really realize what are the things that I need, what are the things that make me feel good, and who am I? If you like this video, you could also check out my Last of Us Show Season 1 compilation, ad-free, sponsor-free, just like all my videos on Nebula. And that's the whole purpose of Nebula. It's a place where high-quality education creators can post early, post extended versions, post videos that would never be able to be made on YouTube. Creators like Legal Eagle, Nando V Movies, AltShiftX, Medlife Crisis, and so many more. I've been posting my compilation videos like Arcane, The Jinx Saga, Vox Machina Season 1, Wednesday Season 1, and of course The Last of Us early on Nebula. And I also have a whole course on how to beat anxiety on Nebula classes. You can also get exclusive originals like how they adapted Lord of the Rings, The Time When, and so many more. Again, only on Nebula. All ad-free, sponsor-free, and if you sign up using my exclusive link below, which you totally should, you can get Nebula for just $3 a month or $40 a year, and clicking on that link really does help out this channel. Oh, and you hate yearly or monthly subscriptions? You can just do it all in one fell swoop for a lifetime membership for only $300. And it's all early access, all the extended versions, the originals, all from Nebula creators just by clicking on the link below. Also, clicking on that link helps us be able to make more premium content. So thank you so much for your support and thank you for Nebula. Hopefully I'll see you in the next video. And so this is my feeling on what I think is the most inspirational part of the Barbie movie. You can let me know your thoughts on it in the comments below.